Irelia. So I think it's time to pack up the Fiora, 0-2 on the season.
Yeah, I agree, and especially where Irelia's been such a strong champion in 6.11, and they are going to go for it. Interestingly enough, Irelia, you know, so highly contested this last week, again, all the way through picks and bans in game number 1.
Hecarim might struggle in that matchup, especially early. Hecarim really wants to itemize into Trinity Force, but it's a bit of a luxury purchase from the jungle. From the top lane, you can build it, but I worry about the W Max Irelia basically just taking out the low health pool Hecarim in trades. Still very much a Hecarim item. And we're going to see a lot of favorites. If we see Ikssu go back to his old favor in Hecarim and the Twisted Fate come out as well, there'll be a lot of comfort from the Afreeca Freecs lineup. The only worry is that if Ikssu does go for a damage build, only Braum will really exist as a frontline for this Jhin to do damage. They committed to Jhin early. Jhin needs a strong frontline. And right now, unless it's a full tank Hecarim, he may struggle to get one, although wait to see how this draft finally finishes off. We're expecting it to be Nidalee jungle, so I guess it has to be top lane Hecarim.
Seems that way. You think the Trundle's going to go for support? Yep. And so Mickey just going with the safe LeBlanc pick in the mid lane.
Interesting draft from Afreeca. Certainly has some semblance of a pick comp. That's what Jhin can do from massive range if any ability hits.
Yeah.
Trundle support for only the second time this season. It is undefeated at 1-0. Now, SKT just need to pick their support. Traditionally, at this point, it has been the Nami. They could also digress, put the Karma in support once more, and give Faker a different mid laner against the LeBlanc.
True. It's possible.
They need wave clear. Karma can provide that for mid lane, so it will be Karma mid. Support Braum on the side of SKT.
Yeah. And Duke, of course, I mean, after a pretty poor game versus Lindarang in game number 1, is going to be looking to carry his heart out. Like, this is Duke with a vengeance, right?
I think it has to be both top laners once again being the defining points of their team. It's top lane Hecarim. I should have got it earlier because they had already locked in the Nidalee. Nowhere else for Hecarim to go but the top lane. Issue here is that Nidalee's going to be a backliner, Jin's going to be a backliner, it's going to be a support Trundle, and obviously LeBlanc's going to be poking in and out. So what will ikssu build to kind of be the front line this Jhin especially needs? And it's a snowball matchup. Both Trinity Force top laners, strong ganking junglers. It was all about Afreeca really getting the advantage for ikssu in the top lane in game 1. Let's see who can do it in game 2, because this time we got teleport on both mid laners.
Well, it's a bold roster swap for Afreeca to shift out the top in the jungle after such a strong game number 1 against SK Telecom. It's certainly an opportunity, in theory, for SKT to come back and force a game 3. We will see if they can do it. I haven't said this very often, but SK Telecom trying to tie things up against their opponents, the Afreeca Freecs. It's not just that they're playing against Afreeca, it's that they're trying to tie up a series against anyone.
And tying up almost belies how one-sided game 1 was. They have to crawl back, honestly, from as dominating a win as we've seen ever against SK Telecom.
Very true. Very true. And Mickey, we'll see if he has a lot of bragging to do in the post-match interviews as we go into this game 2. SKT, can they tie it up? Let's get in the game and find out. All right, welcome to Summoner's Rift again. It's Ocean Drake time. SK Telecom versus the Afreeca Freecs in game number 2. And again, if you're just joining us, holy cow, Afreeca Freecs totally stomped SKT in game 1. It was not even close. No kills, no turrets, only 1 dragon on the scoreboard for SK Telecom in game number 1.
But perhaps even more importantly, you seem to have brought good tidings from North America, because no Cloud Drakes in game 1.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, things are going well in that regard, at least.
Got to find things to be happy about.
That's true.
For an SKT fan, no Cloud Drake is at least a bit of an omen.
We will see. There's still plenty of matches yet today. Plenty of games, theoretically.
So we're getting
at least 3.
We're leaning into this Hecarim top. It is the further afoot battle from the Hecarim. I'm really interested to see how this lane matchup goes. Back in the past, if we saw a matchup like this, you'd expect a lane swap very heavily, because Hecarim would be taking the Ignite and Teleport and looking for something different. So a laner you could gank easily if he's overextended.
Yeah.
This time the Hecarim has the Ghost, so with the buffed Ghost, ikssu returns to Hecarim top.
Lots of SK Telecom fans in the audience.
What do they make of Game 1? That's the question.
Well, this is when we see who the true fans are, you know? Who's going to jump on the Afreeca Freecs bandwagon? Probably not a whole lot of people.
Jump away from the team that's won everything.
I know. Yeah, the current reigning champions of everything in League of Legends. Yeah, I don't think you jump off that bandwagon.
Hey, they haven't won any LCS yet, though.
It's only a matter of time. It only takes, what, you know, maybe 8 years for everybody to get normalized or whatever you would call it over there, and then they can reform.
Playing the long game.
Yep.
We're watching LirA's jungle pathing now. His natural jungle pathing is going to take him to bot lanes. If we see a level 3 gank from Blank, LirA probably will be on the opposite side of the map. So let's see if Hecarim plays smart and doesn't opt into potential snowball that what can happen in these top lanes. Now that we see top laners that rush that Trinity Force, the big story is that getting an item advantage for one of these top laners can honestly decide a game, much less a lane.
Very true. Suddenly ikssu and LirA have a lot to live up for after the performance of the mid and top last game. Blank gets a spear right in the face as he comes out of Tri-Brush. Those junglers are going to duel a little bit, but we're not going to watch it. Nope, not important.
LirA smartly understands that the full clear can't happen. He has to leave his second buff for a while. That's something that behooves Blank, who wants to give the blue buff over to Faker, but double buff does make Nidalee a very potent jungler, but more important for LirA to cover for this Hecarim than necessarily focus on his first clear.
Yeah. Standard lanes again for the second game in a row. SnowFlower taking a bit of damage, a little bit more because of the passive from Braum, getting that stun.
Going to be Sangyoon trying to farm up in the bottom lane, so definitely not looking for any assertive laning phase against the Lucian, who saw nerfs in 6.11, but still has very good early laning phase.
Oh yeah.
Big difference is that now with the range change on Q, you can be a lot safer at more aggressive at standing in your minion wave and instead of getting poked out by that Q.
Right.
Hecarim's looking for a gank here.
Yeah, Faker coming in, uses that shield early on. Oh. The chains miss from Mickey, and so ikssu's going to call that gank off as he comes into mid lane. Faker not having to use any summoners, which is pretty nice. Minion
wave will push back from Duke, but he teleported back into lane, has the Doran's Blade. Not going to be any health from the purchases from ikssu, just the long sword and the cloth armor.
Yep. And as you can see, Hecarim's already got plenty of armor, so a little bit more cloth doesn't make a big difference for this guy.
Something I didn't consider, though, that there was those corrupting potion changes in the patches after MSI that moved a lot of the power away from the amount of health that you regen, instead gave more mana. Of course, Hecarim, the last nerfs he saw directed towards the top lane was mana nerfs on Q, so that extra mana will actually be put to good use by the Hecarim, who wants to go full helicopter, spamming Q and trade.
Good point. SnowFlower getting poked quite a bit again. And Wolf and Bang are doing a good job of being bullies in this lane. I mean, it's Lucian Braum, so what do you really expect? But they are making it work well so far.
Trundle has potions, and of course the King's Tribute passive. Bang. Rooted up. That will be fine.
Yep, Sangyoon taking a lot of punishment here. Bang a little bit low on mana, though, so things will probably stay pretty even in this bot lane.
Also the roam, there's an 11 CS advantage for Duke in the top lane, who also expended his teleport compared to ikssu. Hasn't used teleport yet, not level 6 to try and impact a lane with the Onslaught of Shadows though.
Onslaught of Shadows. It's a very fancy name for ghost horses. A bunch of ghost horses.
It's true. It's
Onslaught
a cool ability though.
Shadows. It is cool. I agree.
Must be close to 6, because Nidalee is hanging around the lane. No way to gank this lane, I think, without the ultimate.
Yeah, you'd think they'd need that Hecarim ultimate to do anything to Duke here.
Well, he's an ult. That will naturally path you behind, then you use the devastating charge to push it towards the Nidalee. Instead, just going to be LirA clearing out that pink ward.
SnowFlower is aware of Blank here. Fight over the Krugs, and Mickey just TP's back to lane, trying to keep up in the CS to Faker. Faker is a little bit ahead, but you do get a lot of poke from the Karma lanes, obviously.
Karma has a very dominant early laning phase. Does very good damage until the tanks can just start absorbing her Qs, then becomes more about the utility of the high AP ratio on the shield.
Right. Speed as well.
No Sivir Karma this time, but mid lane Karma will get access to the max level shield much faster than support.
Now, Jin's a creepy guy. You know that?
Why?
The sounds he makes, doing his abilities, the way he walks. He's a creepy dude. But I was distracted because what I really wanted to talk about was the stats from these two teams coming into this one. SK Telecom, despite that loss to Jhin, pretty much on top in every category. And the Afreeca Freecs, you could call them like the 33% team. Because coming into this one, all right, get this.
I'm listening.
All right. They have a 33% rate for First Blood, Dragon Control, First Tower, First Team to 3 towers, and their Baron take rate is only 35%, which is around, 1 in 3. So basically, they do everything well 1 out of 3 times coming into the series. So they were really struggling in nearly every aspect of the game, but if they can keep up what we saw in game number 1, those stats are going to turn around for both teams, honestly.
And what those raw numbers translate is into stats that, again, don't make good reading. 10th in the league out of 10, so lowest for first blood percentage, lowest for dragon control. In general, they were really struggling in their first 6 series, so a lot about game 1 was just completely unexpected from Afreeca Freecs.
We had questions about SKT coming into this one because of how they looked against Jhin last week, but that was Jhin. Jhin's a generally pretty good team until they randomly get 2-0 by MVP. I don't know what to say about Jhin, but SK Telecom, you'd think they would look stronger this week, but instead, losing harder than they've ever really lost before. But it's only 1 game.
It's one of those things where you come into this game and the storyline is SKT needs to confidently 2-0 Afreeca to show that the Jhin match was a fluke or to look past the Jhin match, and now the storyline starts to morph because it was Afreeca who convincingly took them out in game 1.
Yeah. And normally when someone says it's morphin time, I get really excited, but not in this case. This is a morph I don't want to see, because SK Telecom is not morphing into a Power Ranger, they're morphing into like kind of a bad League of Legends team.
So more of an Animorph than
That's true. So I never read those books when I was a kid.
It was a TV show too. It wasn't great.
Shocking. Blank taking some serious damage from LirA.
Oh,
there's another spear, has to use that flash. Get out of the tunnel, whoops. Whoa, over the wall, onto Faker now. There, the chain's gonna lock him up. Faker may have to flash here too, he does. And that did not work out well for SK Telecom. Faker had to come down to try to help out his jungler, and in turn had to end up burning a summoner himself.
Yep, that's flash down on Rek'Sai, so that means that, of course, her ganking pressure without the ability to flash on Burrow is gonna be much, much lower. That means ikssu is going to be happier and safer in the top lane. They can't steal away the blue buff. Blank is able to stay. They're looking around the Drake, but have to back away from that as well.
Yep. Meanwhile, the duel up in top lane continues. Duke's getting a nice CS lead. You have to be a little bit worried if you're ikssu, I suppose.
Still seems to be going for at least the Phage. We're not sure if he's going to commit fully on a Trinity Force Rush that will make him a very damaging pony, but certainly a very squishy one too.
And Duke a little bit ahead in that race. Already has the Phage.
Ninja Tabby Rush makes a lot of sense on Hecarim, who has that movement speed scaling for damage as well with his passive. It does scale with level, but Ninja Tabby, outside of the W damage, gives you a lot of good defensive stats against an Irelia.
SK Telecom, as you can see, able to take the first dragon in the game, so they'll get that little bit of out-of-combat regeneration, and it looks like it's going to be another Ocean Drake next, I believe. It's
a good back timer for Duke. Basically, he backed, worked out if he needed to teleport for Drake, and then just could confidently teleport back to turret, knowing that ikssu didn't have teleport available himself, so well coordinated from SKT. And this, of course, is the maximum things they picked up in game 1. One Drake.
That's true, that's all they got.
Anything from here is a positive movement for SKT.
Very true. Again, this is a team that came into this match with an average gold lead at 15 of about 1,900 gold, and I'm sure that stat dropped a little bit after game 1.
Before the series against Jhin, it was over 2,500 gold, so
true,
free fall at this point, unfortunately, in terms of that stat.
Yeah. Baker going in onto Mickey. Blank is right there. Baker pops the passive, but not able to really finish him off. Ooh. If that was a Madrid Q, you gotta wonder. That would have maybe done enough.
Honestly, if Blank had shut out a Q as well, it would have been Mickey on about 50 health.
Yeah. Meanwhile, a dive down in bot lane. SnowFlower taking some damage. Curtain call pot by Sangyoon just to try to force Bang away. Takes a lot of hits. Turret hits as well. Oh, flashes the last one. Ooh, that was close. Teleport coming in, though. They're going down on LeBlanc. Mickey coming in, getting that first blood. And Afreeca Freecs throughout all of that skirmish. Comes out on top a little bit. Meanwhile, Duke winning that 1v1 pretty handily against this ikssu so far.
And that was what I was worried about when he opted into the Hecarim matchup, is that Wmax Irelia can now atomize into daggers very happily. No more zeal in the build path, just sheer attack speed that works much better with the hit-end style. If Hecarim's not going to build health, he's going to struggle trading against this Irelia.
Certainly seems that way. But SK Telecom coming so close to getting that kill on the SnowFlower in bot lane, and just some good zoning from Sangyoon on the Jhin, and Mickey comes in and picks up first blood.
Seems like Bang made the call to go for the turret dive. Took 2 shots.
Oh, there we go. Onslaught of Shadows used to push Duke back under. He didn't get him under turret, but SnowFlower there with the pillar. Duke has to flash away. ikssu low, but I think Duke may be dead here. Turns around for the stun with that equilibrium strike, but there's nothing equal about the result up in that top lane as Afreeca Freecs pick up another kill.
Insult onto injury. They actually have SnowFlower rotate first to the top lane. Lane gank Trundle doesn't sound like a successful strategy, but it's just enough with Irelia's flash down to get the pillar in from SnowFlower. Didn't even have flash of his own. Now, the lanes are helping out the top lane, and we're, again, eerily similar to game 1. Maybe to a lesser degree, but still similar nonetheless.
Yeah. Faker, though, doing okay in this mid lane. He's got the CS lead, has been able to chip that turret pretty nicely. He does get some damage onto him. Whoa, boy, but a lot of damage in response for Faker. And this Karma certainly can do a lot early on in the game. That's the time where you really need to get the lead, I suppose, if you're Faker.
It's a really comfortable pick into the LeBlanc as well, because the laning phase is so dominant. You have shield, your poke out damages that of LeBlanc, and in general requires less skill shots to get the most out of it. So
true.
Basically a pseudo LeBlanc in the laning phase, and then evolving into the utility carry that Karma evolves into in the late game. Not quite Lulu, but pretty close.
LirA over the wall there, but the response from Wolf is that Braum ultimate. LirA very low. Sangyoon again with that curtain call from Jhin, forcing SKT away, and now Bang very low health as ikssu comes in. Gets knocked up by the Rek'Sai though. Spear comes in, nearly takes out Bang. He has to back away. Ooh, Sangyoon goes for the W, doesn't get it. Blank on the run now. SnowFlower slows him up with that pillar. Wolf and Faker to the rescue. SnowFlower low, has to back away. Sangyoon chasing a spear onto Blank again. Nearly picks him off mid-tunnel. Flashes out of the W yet again. LirA misses the spear. And somehow, some way, nobody dying in that engage.
First, Afreeca looked like they'd lose a couple of members. No one died. Then they continued the chase. They invested 5. Got no kills. So SKT come out ahead purely because Duke did not use teleport. Free farmed in the top. Now 28 CS ahead. Should definitely win the race towards the Trinity Force as well.
Yeah.
And then we'll see if Hecarim can enter lane against the Irelia.
All right, well, let's check that out again.
I mean, LirA got super overconfident here and then found 4 members instantly. LirA heals himself at the last, doesn't die to ignite. And then you're like, oh boy, Afreeca might turn this one around. Iksu's not tanking enough, doesn't have Trinity Force completed either. So just on every side, not quite enough to take down any member. SnowFlower's flash here was crazy aggressive for a support Trundle.
I like it.
Mickey was getting his rotation of his ultimate back up. He was about 2 seconds away from having the Mimic available, but no Mimic, no kills, advantage SKT.
Yeah. LirA's spears were generally very good in that fight too, until that very last one that he missed trying to finish off Blank. But you can see why that Nidalee is a scary pick for him to grab.
Just a single assist for LirA, but he's got the 19 CS advantage and has controlled this game to a great degree.
Well, it looks like SK Telecom may finally do what they were not able to do in game number 1 and take an objective that's not a dragon. There's a turret. So they do end up getting the first turret of the game, despite giving up the first 2 kills over to the Afreeca Freecs.
I think in a couple of different ways, SKT winning this early game.
I think so too.
Duke has definitely won the top lane in terms of having extra CS. The kill did go over to the Hecarim, but still a little bit extra gold to Duke, who wins the race to Trinity Force. I think as a Trinity Force power spike, if ikssu and Duke enter lane with Trinity Force and everything else being equal, Irelia wins that 1v1. It's just after the tankiness, Hecarim is normally a better team fighter than Irelia, so it'll be interesting to track as the game goes on.
Yeah, Duke able to push that top lane up now because he has the teleport. ikssu does not. Kind of needs to stick around the mid lane for the moment, but hey, if you're killing the turret, I think that's not a bad thing for the Afreeca Freecs. Faker taking a big chunk out of a few people with that Q. Wolf kind of on his own, gets locked up, has to use the Braum ultimate just to try to get away. Whoa, but Mickey's not going to let him. Helps Sangyoon pick up that kill there with the curtain call. The ultimate from Jhin doing work, and that's going to mean that Afreeca Freecs can go after this dragon and have a pretty comfortable 5v4. Looks like they'll trade a top lane turret for it. They're okay with that, though. That dragon going over to the Afreeca Freecs.
And LeBlanc actually recalls, enters lane against Duke. He's going to go for the kill here.
I don't know. Ooh, Duke using those Transcendent Blades just to try to kind of scare Mickey away a little bit.
So now SKT has been the best team at the league at taking advantage of summoner spell mismatches. They have double teleport. ikssu will soon have his up. But if we've seen SKT, if we know this team, they will rotate and force a 5v4 and really start the snowball in the mid game that this team comp can definitely provide. So let's see if they can return to form and take advantage of the fact that Mickey entered lane just to ensure that the top turret lived, but on just a sliver of health.
Right. Ooh, ikssu getting really, really low. Stayed up close as he knew LirA and SnowFlower were coming in.
It's a sheer damage build from ikssu. He's maxing Devastating Charge seconds, so won't even have the sustain that the W can provide, or at least less of that.
Yeah. Well, CS leads in all three lanes for SK Telecom right now. Pretty significant ones in top and AD carry. But they need more, you know? It's still a pretty even game. Still dead even in terms of gold, actually.
To me, the big difference is the build paths for both top laner and AD carry are identical, and SKT have more damage on their carries. And it's Athene's needlessly large rod coming out from the Karma, which means the extra defensive stats that the Athenes provides now is true defensive item choice, and just big shields. So they're going to have higher health pools and either the same or more damage. So in a 5v5, for now, SKT has a pretty clear advantage item-wise.
Right. Uh-oh. Have they caught ikssu? No, they have not. As good as Mickey looked in game number one. Ooh, Faker zoned out. There's the curtain call again. Flashes. He's playing DDR, playing it on heavy, but he makes it through. Doesn't get killed. Nearly takes out Mickey in response. Whoa, there we go. ikssu coming in for the execute onto Faker. And now Afreeca Freecs pushing towards this mid lane. Blank in a little bit of trouble as well. They're going to let him go, turn around, take out that turret. Suddenly jumping out to a lead, but again, Duke pushing in the bot lane, Bang pushing in the top lane, so the Afreeca Freecs can't really do a whole lot with this other than just grab that low health turret.
Taking the mid lane turret, though, is a big boon for them. They've got a pick comp with this full damage Hecarim and the LeBlanc, so being able to get that really deep wards in means that they'll be able to get the sort of flanks in the late game that will really help them out. So turret-wise, they trade up a lot of extra gold, as you mentioned, and resources over to SK Telecom. It was really nice dodging from Faker. It's just there's no counterplay to this Hecarim. Long-range engage. Once the Trundle pillar comes through, which you have to say was actually really nicely positioned from SnowFlower.
It was.
The rest was history. Full damage Hecarim does one thing, explode people, and did just fine that time around.
Yeah, I would say so. SK Telecom, once again, finding themselves a little bit behind. It's not as bad as it was in game number one, but it's not good either. Faker looking for some revenge on ikssu here. No ultimate for that Hecarim right now, and Faker doing tons of damage. Here comes Blank. They should be able to catch him. Blank comes over the wall, though. Here's LirA. They've got the spear, and it looks like it will be a kill. Blank flashing forward for that one. First kill of the series for SK Telecom. Crazy to think about.
Took about 45 minutes. Game one went just over, I believe, 26-27, and now 21 minutes in, so close to 50 minutes for SK Telecom to find their first kill. That's a nice monkey off the back.
You got to wonder if that's maybe the longest they've gone in professional play without getting a kill.
I would say almost certainly yes.
There's got to be some crazy stats like that out there for this series. This is kind of historic stuff.
You know what's the fun history lesson, though, Doa? What was the team that really was the last team to put it into SKT, or at least hold them down in spring season, but Afreeca Freecs who beat them in the first round robin, and then SKT turned around their season. Who's to say how the narrative will end here, but it felt like Afreeca had the last laugh, and then SKT basically ran away with the season. So SK Telecom find a way to come back. They might do it in this series in particular, but these Afreeca versus SKT series have always been a little bit interesting.
I would say so. It's a weird rivalry between these two teams because normally you wouldn't even think of it as a rivalry.
Sure.
You're like, well, SKT should beat them all the time, but that's not how it's ended up.
That's why people find it hard to evaluate teams on a world context where like this team wins MSI then loses to Afreeca Freecs. What does it mean?
Yeah.
It's just a reality of a league system. I think if this game was an elimination playoff match, it would be very different, but
could be. I agree.
Afreeca has found those victories pretty consistently, upsetting SK Telecom in one way or another.
I mean, we know that in the end, you just don't bet against SKT. Maybe you bet against Blank, though. He's in a little bit of trouble, tries to tunnel his way out. Great pillar, though, coming in from that Trundle. Wolf tosses a Braum, doesn't do a whole lot. Exhaust onto Bang, he gets destroyed. Double kill already for ikssu on that Hecarim. It's a day of the top laners for Afreeca Freecs. Transcendent Blades take some chunks out of the Freaks, but it doesn't matter. Mickey coming in, getting one. LirA picking up a kill as well, and LirA looking for the ace. Kind of just zoning out Wolf with that spear in the end, turns towards the blue buff. They don't need the ace. They do need the Baron, though.
There will be teleport available to Faker, but he's 25 seconds away. ikssu can just base, buy an item, teleport over. They have a lot of Baron damage. Trinity Force top laner. Jhin's not fantastic, but they should be able to get it down before Faker can respawn.
Yep.
Rek'Sai, though, has a tunnel pretty close.
All right, Blank is there. He's going to try to go for the steal, but Afreeca's zoning him out pretty well. Spear doesn't hit. Blank looking for it. He's just got to survive a little bit longer, but no, he won't. ikssu with yet another kill. Sangyoon, though, had to tank that Baron for a long time.
Oh, boy.
And now teleport coming in. The Freaks are very low health. Wolf coming in as well. Baron does go over to Afreeca Freecs. Faker getting blown up immediately as he tries to make a play. And this is not going to work out. SK Telecom looking in pretty rough shape.
Blank did everything he could to both buy time and steal away the buff. This is a very aggressive teleport from
Mickey, I don't know, man. That was not, you know, once in a while Mickey makes these teleport plays, doesn't he? That was a Mickey TP right there. That was classic Mickey.
Just watch ikssu, though. It's all about the galloping Hecarim that makes this play. They start up this pick in the enemy jungle, and SKT are made to pay for a massive double ult on Bang & Wolf. Bang dies for free in the middle of the fight, so even though Duke has a good teleport ward, because Hecarim's already there, it doesn't count for anything. And from there, so many advantages go over to the Afreeca Freecs. Okay, SKT made a really good defense. Oh boy, fights on again.
Fighting time. ikssu uses that Onslaught of Shadows, and they will take this Dragon back from SK Telecom. SKT almost had it, but Afreeca came back just in time.
These Hecarims have really been ruining top teams' day. Rox Tigers had no answer for CJ with the jungle Hecarim.
Yeah.
And now top lane for the first time since maybe Huni in the top lane at MSI. I mean, other regions have played around with it, but certainly not cited in LCK. We're seeing it do a lot of work for ikssu.
Oh wow, Faker in a lot of trouble here as Mickey goes in looking for the 1v1. Wolf blocking some damage. That's going to be it for the moment. But the Afreeca Freecs pushing farther and farther on that SK Telecom side of the map, getting a lot of good vision in, setting themselves up for a kill on that tier 2 turret in bot lane.
The Huni pick was at Worlds, so I'll take that back. But yeah, it's not a lot of Hecarim in the top lane especially.
Yeah.
Has the Sunfire Cave, so Trinity Force tanky is getting closer and closer for ikssu. Will probably be working on the Spirit Visage next.
At this point, Faker has one kill in the last 3 games.
He's found an assist though, so he's got that going for him.
Yep, 1 kill, 1 assist in the last 3 games, and a whole lot of deaths. Not the typical numbers we see from Faker.
Well, we'll give him some time to settle. It does feel like the start of something, but Faker can definitely correct the narrative with some impressive performances. He may still do that this game.
Faker, of course, one of the few players out there where you would call, 3 games a major slump.
It's all about context, right, though?
Yeah, very true.
Context of Faker's career has been success, success, success.
Yeah.
The 3 games feels like an eternity for SKT fans and for Faker fans as well.
Well, that's the thing, 3 bad games. You wouldn't think anything of that with, nearly any other player, but we've never seen this from Faker really before.
Force Hecarim, because he's been able to itemize that Snowball Sunfire from that team fight, only a Bilgewater to wait for Duke. They're going for the dive. He's dead.
Well, Duke has no chance. I mean, how does an Irelia survive that? Well, spoiler alert, she doesn't.
Well, she's itemized into full damage, so no magic resist, no armor, just health now being put together. That's, I guess, the best at trying to split between the two itemization choices.
This one's starting to look pretty out of reach for SK Telecom already. Just 27 minutes into the game. And that's another tier 2 going down. They're going to get both of them. Oh, there's the inhibitor turret, actually. Maybe a kill onto ikssu. Nope, he's fast.
They come over, do some damage to a turret. Maybe not devastating charge, runs away, but yep, they back away. Every turret barring this inner turret in the bot lane is down for SK Telecom.
9K gold lead right now for the Afreeca Freecs, about 8,000 actually, around 9,000. But if you like took these teams and you took the nameplates off, I would, before this match started, I would absolutely be like, oh yeah, SKT about to win 2-0. That's pretty normal, you know? Then you put the nameplates on. You see it's Afreeca Freecs. They've held SK Telecom this series to a total of 2 kills, 2 turrets, 2 dragons in 2 games.
SKT have looked very ordinary. There's no other way to put it. They had a good early game in this game, but they kind of over-pushed their advantage, fought in the enemy jungle. Hecarim got there first. Some of Duke's teleport issues starting to crop up again, but they've returned to these split-pushing champions. It's interesting about SKT, because they started the season playing around Duke, but that was playing around, say, a Trundle top, getting the Trundle a big CS advantage, ensuring the Maokai could go nowhere in the lane. Now he's playing the Irelia, and you expect the same playstyle. Set up the Irelia to succeed, and in some ways they did, but they really haven't found the same success with carry top laners that they did in the tank meta, which is just crazy to think, because Duke came up in the scene, in Najin, in KT, as a top lane carry.
Well, SK Telecom trying to set up a trap there, but hard to trap a Trundle. He's the one who traps you. All right. Yomu's used just to get Sangyoon away a little bit quicker. They're going to turn around on SKT now.
Hecarim's coming in too.
That's right. Wow. Onslaught of Shadows goes through. SKT in a lot of trouble already. Duke turning it though. ikssu very low. Maybe they can make something out of this. SnowFlower has to flash away. SK Telecom looking for that miracle fight. They may have found it. Duke flashes ahead. Going in onto Sangyoon. They pick up a kill. LirA flashes over the wall. And Bang chasing. That's another one for SK Telecom. And maybe this one isn't over quite yet.
A big mistake from Afreeca. They over-pursued. There was no way for Sangyoon to be involved in the fight, so ikssu dived in, was DPS down by 5, had to back away, and then there's no other frontliners for Afreeca. So Flash is still up. SKT re-engage, get 2 kills, get 2 turrets, and find a lifeline in the series.
You know, it's as soon as you get done talking about how things could go badly for SKT, they tend to do things like this. You can never count these guys out. This is obviously still a game that's looking good for Jhin, but or not Jhin. Maybe I mean it's looking good because they're not playing, I guess. But it's still looking good for Afreeca. But SKT, they can make miracles happen.
So they open up with the Jhin up, but look, Jhin is off the screen. Hecarim dives in, and everyone's like, let's kill the Hecarim in front of us. He's not tanky enough, even with 3 items. Not a Guardian Angel just yet. And Jhin does not do anything in the remainder of the fight, only now re-enters. Frontline is dead, the only frontliner is ikssu. The power and the power of the 5v5 of Afreeca is basically proportional to ikssu's health bar. If ikssu has no health, every other member of Afreeca has to kite back. So either get a pick with this DPS Hecarim, or at least the DPS focused early game build, or back away. And because they backed away slowly, they gave up 2 kills.
Yeah. Afreeca Freecs setting up for the Baron. They're setting up a trap as well for SK Telecom, and then they have caught Blank, uses that Prey Seeker, but gets caught with that tunnel, or with the pillar rather. Gets out with the tunnel.
Gold lead still at 6,000.
If it was any other team, you'd say it was over, and it probably still is over objectively, especially with Afreeca Freecs picking up this Mountain Drake. You never know.
I don't pencil it in just yet, just because, again, when you only have one frontline, there's actually a pretty big margin of error for team fights and team plays.
Suppose.
There is found doing the Drake. It might extend up being a leash on this Mountain Drake.
We will see. Mickey comes in and takes the dragon away. Great play by Mickey to snag that one for his team. And now Blank on the run with the rest of SK Telecom. SnowFlower, though, caught by Bang and Wolf in the back of that. SKT, they find the kill even if they lose the dragon.
And the pings come on to Baron for SKT. This might be one thing that gets them truly back into this game too, is taking a Baron. It will be 5v4, but it's only SnowFlower that's dead for Afreeca. Health bar is also very healthy for the other 4 members of Afreeca.
Well, what a comeback this would be if SK Telecom is able to win this game.
Do not want to group for ikssu here.
I was going to say, yeah, they got to be really careful with that Hecarim coming in, but SK Telecom turning off of that Baron right away.
Need to pick on someone like LirA to stop there being a smite steal. You cannot opt into the AoE of the Hecarim, so smart to peel off.
SKT a little bit lucky that that vulnerable inhibitor is in their top lane where they can kind of protect that and Baron at the same time, but now that they've been pushed away, Afreeca Freecs going right away for that Baron. Down to about half health. They do have the Mountain Drake, so they can take it out a little bit quicker. Bank million. Oh, he gets the steal! Blank gets the Baron from Afreeca Freecs, dies for it. But that was crucial to stay alive in this game. They needed to deny that Baron, and they did it.
They were smited as well. Got no purchase from it. That's massive for SKT. They can go back. They can regroup. Keep up this inhibitor, most likely. Afreeca's still fighting.
Oh, Duke tried to make a play, but Afreeca caught them. And now it's 5v3. This inhibitor is not going to last. And even with the Baron buff, you got to wonder if SKT can hold off the Afreeca Freecs. Seems like they should probably try to get as much as they can from this.
How greedy will they get? They have the Trinity Force. So you can see the damage they're doing with the Mountain Drake they were able to claim as well.
They might be able to, I mean, they don't have the minion waves though. They don't have the Barons. So getting 2 inhibitors is all they can really take from it. That's probably fine.
But you know what you can be happy about, Doa? If they got the Baron, the game would have been over. They would have been riding super minions. They would have ended the game. Because they lost the Baron, it's only 2 inhibitors. So
yep.
Blank buys his team a reprieve, but only just.
Well, man, if SK Telecom can come back and win this game, Blank is my MVP because that steal single-handedly kept them into it.
Let's watch Duke here. He was the one who was caught, and it's just that onslaught of shadows.
Yeah.
Any damage onto a target means the Jhin root comes in.
Yep.
The kill is confirmed. Ikssu goes back, buys a Guardian Angel. Now he can try those over-aggressive plays. They may, in fact, pay off. So now we're at the point where Ikssu is a true raid boss. With Guardian Angel, he can go in. He's close to 40% CDR with the Trinity Force now giving 20% and Spirit Visage having the 10. And if he gets a second round of Ws, even at low health, he'll sustain up so much.
True.
And just fight in the front line.
Well, I didn't think this series was going to be as exciting and close as it ended up being. I'm not complaining, but Afreeca Freecs kind of starting to look like the team we thought they should be by now, you know?
LeBlanc goes back, has 2,600 gold in the inventory. That's a straight-up Void Staff. It's a massive damage spike that SKT won't have eyes on yet. Teleporting into the mid lane.
Oh, ikssu finding Faker here. Yeah, I don't know if this Karma can take out the Hecarim. Yeah, Mickey comes in, wants one, gets one. 6-0-7 on that LeBlanc this game. And the battle of mid laners is certainly going over to Mickey this time around.
I don't remember the last player that showed Faker how to play LeBlanc, but if you consider the last 3 games, Faker's 0-5-0, and now a carry performance from Mickey.
Without that damage from that Karma, too, without the shields, Afreeca setting up for what could be a game-ending push here. LirA takes a bit of damage. Whoa, Bang gets lit up a bit. They're going to keep going here. Afreeca Freecs pushing in with these super minions, but SK Telecom still has that Baron buff. They can push back, but can they win the fight? A knock-up, Wolf gets exhausted, gets taken out. In the end, Blank goes in to try to make something happen, but dies for it. Ikssu taking the turret hits, he doesn't care, and this is it. The Afreeca Freecs will 2-0 SK Telecom. This season is suddenly wide open. GG.
What a crazy result from Afreeca. And the cherry on top, Doa, is the fact that they did this with 2 lineups. They sub out their top laner and jungle and still make it work. Ikssu looked wonderful on the Hecarim.
I know.
1 carry top laner to the next. This is such a result for Afreeca.
This is insane. I mean, especially what you said is that they did it with 2 different top laners and junglers. How does that happen? SK Telecom, a loss to Jhin. Now an even bigger loss, perhaps one of the biggest stompings we've seen SK Telecom take in the history of their team. And you got to wonder what the future's going to be like this season for Coma and the rest of them.
As an analyst, I'm a fan of applying Occam's razor over 2 series as one consistent for SKT's matches, and so SKT has issues, because if you can change your lineups game on game, if Jhin can beat you in 2 games, it's SKT's problems, not everybody else doing something to them.
I think you're totally right.
Crazy results. You're looking at the damage dealt. Hecarim with a big assist over to the LeBlanc. Went the full damage, but which is so risky. It was the gambler's choice.